In light of the Paris terrorist attacks, I want to talk about a radical solution, because what I'm seeing a lot of stuff all over social media, especially Facebook. Newsfeed just blows up and is full of it. And you get it. I see two different things. I've got a lot of different friends and followers, a real eclectic bunch on Facebook. So I don't see just one thing. I see a lot of stuff. And some people are saying, pray for peace, etc. And one love and things like that. And then there are other people that are saying, nuke 'em, nuke Islam, the Islamic cult, nuke 'em all. I see one guy put a picture of a nuclear bomb going off and said, the Japanese weren't our friends until 1945 and we've had peace ever since. Give Islam the same the same medicine. This is like complete unconsciousness, right? Complete unconsciousness. And ignorance, complete ignorance, of folks saying, see, I told you, see what happened when you let the refugees over the border, see what happens when you open your borders to Islam, send all the refugees back. It's like, this is like real ignorance here, because the refugees are actually people trying to escape terrorism. They're people that's trying to escape war, not coming to create war in other places, right? So it's it's a dangerous thing to generalize, to say, because America attacked Iraq, all Americans are assholes. That's a generalization. Or because there was some attacks some terrorist attacks in Paris that are supposedly Islamic extremists, that all Muslims are bad and should be nuked. This is a crazy generalization. Back years ago when the IRA were blowing up, blowing up in bombs in London and places like that, people weren't saying, nuke the Irish, were they? People weren't saying stuff like that, right? So we got to look at things a little bit differently. And the radical solution, what's the solution? The radical solution is to question everything, because you're being fed something. The mainstream media is basically the puppeteer, the puppet master. And if you're glued to the news, the mainstream news, you're basically a puppet on a string, and the puppet master is the media, basically pulling your emotional cords and telling you what to think, what to feel, what to love, what to fear. And that's why you see all this stuff. Some people are watching Fox News in America and they're getting this one-sided thing, and other people are watching the BBC News, etc. And there's a lot of crazy stuff that people are saying on social media because of this, because they're just really puppets. Don't realize that they're hypnotized puppets to the media. And if you're watching that all the time, and that's why people are getting so emotional about stuff. Like there was a couple of days ago, big bomb blasts in Beirut. Yeah, no one's flipping out about that. No one's putting Lebanese flags as their profile picture. No one's doing that. Another big bomb blast in Baghdad at a funeral, right? People killed. No one's putting up an Iraqi flag as their profile picture, or saying prayers for Baghdad, right? No one's doing that. Early on this year, the massive terrorist attack in Kenya, on the same sort of scale as Paris, 147 people killed, I think, right? But no one's losing their mind over that in the West anyway. Why is that? It's because the media. If the media put a whole lot of attention on that and said, right, this is they're coming for you next or something, the way they're kind of doing, this is only the start, etc., then people would start to feel more emotional about it. But it's the media that are pulling the strings. Yeah, and if you're watching that all the time, you can't help but start to be hypnotized by it. And once you start getting hypnotized by it, you're basically a slave to it. You're at their mercy. The media just has to pull a string here, pull a string there, and they're attached to you, right? So you want to question everything. You want to question the media. Anything the media pumps out, you want to question it, right? We've been told that there are terrorist attacks in Paris, and there's no doubt all these people have been killed. But who's done it? Again, because somebody supposedly ran into the concert hall and shouted, God is great in Arabic, and then just unloaded. That doesn't mean that it's Islamic. You have the problem, reaction, solution. This is very prevalent. You see it in the most recent James Bond movie. We're delving into sort of conspiracy theories and things here, but it's very, very obvious once you really look into it, once you start questioning everything. You watch the most recent James Bond movie, there's the G20 summit is about to happen, right? The French government did not sign an agreement which is very similar to what happened in the James Bond movie, where the South Africans didn't sign an agreement, and then they set off 3 explosions in I believe it's Cape Town in the movie. So to get the South Africans to then sign the agreement. Yeah. So things we often see in movies are actually the prophecies of what's actually going to happen. So watch the James Bond movie and you'll see all these similarities to what's actually happening right now. And even James Bond says the New World Order in the movie. And that's what we're talking about here. There is the New World Order. And the media is pulling your strings. If you're so engaged in all this, and filling up with fear or loathing for a certain group or whatever, that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a divide and conquer. That's what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a divide. And if you start seeing Muslims as the bad guys or anything like that, then you've really been brainwashed. You've really been hypnotized. It's just crazy thinking. To think that this is the refugees that are coming in and doing this. That's just nuts. If there is a group called ISIS and there are terrorists that came from an Islamic group, there are plenty of people that will say it's actually just government created by the New World government to actually create problem, reaction, solution, right? The problem is they create a problem. The reaction is, go back to 9/11. They want to invade Baghdad, right? They want to invade Iraq, but the people don't want it. Right? People don't want it. Okay, well let's create a problem. They want to invade Afghanistan. The people don't want it, right? Okay, let's create a problem. Let's create so much fear in the American people. Let's take down the World Trade Center, make it look like this massive terrorist attack perpetrated by Afghanistans and people in the Middle East and Islamic extremists. Yeah? And then all the people, that's a problem. The people react with fear, with defend us. And then the solution is, okay, now we're going to go over and we're going to take them out. We're going to take out the bad guys. We're going to take out this little guy in a cave in the mountain on his computer, orchestrating the biggest terrorist attack that ever existed. Come on, now, folks, right? Yeah. And then, why do they suddenly go and take out Baghdad then? Weapons of mass destruction. Did they ever find any? No. It's just creating a problem. There's a problem here. There's weapons of mass destruction and they're going to kill us with them. People react, okay, we need to be defended from these weapons of mass destruction. Rarely ever found? No, whole thing swept under the carpet, right? So, this is how it's happening now. They create a problem, people react, they bring out a solution. Once you get the blinkers off and you actually see what's going on and how the let's just call them the New World Order, how they orchestrate things. I'm not going to say the American government or this government or that government, it's just the New World Order, right? The people who are trying to take over the world and control the world, right? They want to keep people in fear, they want to keep people down, they want to keep people subservient. Yeah, so they create problems, people react, then they should bring on solutions. Yeah, and that's what we're going to see in the aftermath of these supposed terrorist attacks in Paris. All right. So what am I saying? I'm saying question. Question the media, question politicians, start to see things as they are. Not just what you've been emotionally pulled by the media to think or feel. Yeah. Sure, it's kind of just natural for humans. It's closer to home for a lot of people. It's a lot of people associate with Paris. They've been to Paris, or friends of them have been to Paris, or they just associate more with Paris. It feels like closer to home. So when something happens like that, People feel like it's on their doorstep. It's more fearful for many people. That's only natural. It's only natural. People will see it as something that is they associate more to European people than maybe to people from Asia. It's just natural, But when you see the things and then you get shown it, you get shown things very close up, like the media does, then you feel it, Like while this happened, there are also millions of cows, millions of pigs, millions of hens, chickens, whatever, are being slaughtered, are being killed, and are in pain. So people can just eat and get a taste of meat in their system, right? Completely unnecessary. But when you get shown something, then it hits home. I posted a video of a cow being horribly slaughtered in the slaughterhouse, which is this is common, it's just normal, right? That's the way it happens. But some people saw that, a friend of mine saw that, and he hasn't been able to eat meat since, because suddenly he's connected to that, right? But what we have, and we've got a disconnect to these like African countries, these Middle Eastern countries, etc. But then we feel more connected to the countries that we, I guess, feel more connected to, because of media, etc. And that's just the way the media orchestrates it. Yeah, so, what's the solution? Well, the solution is to wake up. The solution is to become more conscious, is not to let our emotions be swayed by the media. That's the solution, right? Not to be in fear. I see people in other countries saying they're afraid to leave their house, that are 2,000 miles away from Paris, saying they're afraid to leave the house because of this. That's the media instilling fear into people. Other people saying, things like that. Yeah. So you want to question all that. You want to just stop watching all that stuff. I see a little bit. I see enough. Okay, take bits here, but I watch it without emotion. With just saying, okay, this is the media trying to affect me in a way. I'm not going to let that happen, right? I'll just take snippets here, snippets there, and I'll put together a picture rather than just sitting there and being hypnotized by it. If you watch something consciously, with a conscious mind, you can't be hypnotized, right? You can only be hypnotized if you sit there and just let it go in and you don't have your guard up, right? So put your guard up to being hypnotized and wake up out of the hypnotism that you've been hypnotized with, if that has happened to you, right? And get out of it. Stop watching all the mainstream media all the time. Just stop watching it. If something is important enough, someone will tell you about it, because otherwise you're being hypnotized. And when something does come out, question it. Start to see the bigger picture. See, why is that happening? And if any of this is kind of like coming up and you're just like thinking, what is this guy talking about? Just research it yourself. Start researching yourself. Start questioning. And instead of going, oh no, that's bullshit, I don't believe that. Question it. Question it and start looking deeper. With instead of being critical, be curious. Be curious and go, I wonder why he's saying that. I wonder if there's any truth in this. Let's dig deeper. Let's look deeper. I read my very first book on the New World Order 20 years ago. 20 years ago I read my first book. Well, when no one was talking, no one had heard about this sort of stuff. Before the internet had all this stuff blew up in social media and people started to learn about the New World Order and about the Illuminati and all this sort of stuff. 20 years ago I read my first book on it. And yeah, something I don't talk about a lot. But it's something that it's good to understand and know all this sort of stuff, that you're protected. You don't get hypnotized by all the BS that is being thrown at you from the media, from the mainstream media. Yeah. There's alternative medias as well, and some of them are just as prone to do stuff like that. But it's also being able to look at things with your guard up and understanding that they're playing a big game of charades, right? And it's a big facade, and to be able to see past it all and not to get emotionally swayed by it all, unless you're really doing something about it, unless you're really doing something about it, and don't let it put you in fear, because again, that's what they want. They want people to be in fear. They want people to react. Don't react. Don't be in fear. be proactive, and don't be afraid. Okay, thanks for watching, and hopefully you got something from that, and maybe it will make you look further.